crisp on the outside and juicy on the inside, and so simple to make. This prime rib recipe is sure to be the star of your holiday dinner. I have all my ingredients prepped and ready. Let's get started. When shopping for a prime rib, always make sure it's nice and red and the fat looks nice and creamy and white, not dark. First thing we want to do is season it all over. It's really important to get a good seasoning. Rub the salt all over the prime rib. This is going to help it get a nice crust on it. I actually like to season it the night before, so if time permits, season it and place it in the fridge overnight. You end up with a better crust on the prime rib. Now let's start working on the jus. I'm going to add to my roasting pan some carrots, onion, celery, garlic, and some fresh herbs. And I'm going to be using some beef stock, just some store-purchased beef stock. If you've got your own at home, please feel free to use this. I'm going to add a V-rack to the pan and place the roast on top. I've preheated my oven to 200 Fahrenheit. We're going to add the meat and we want to cook this low and slow. We're looking for about 125 degrees. Now we're going to let this sit on the countertop for about 35 minutes. We're giving it a resting period. So I'm going to cover it with some foil, but that temperature internally is going to rise to about 132 degrees, because remember, it's cooking from the outside in. I've boosted my oven temperature to 500 Fahrenheit. I'm going to place the roast in there for about 8 to 10 minutes just to get the outside nice and brown. Just look at the colour of that crust from the hot oven. Whilst the meat rests, I'll make the gravy. I've passed the juices through a colander and I've taken 1 tablespoon of cornstarch and 2 tablespoons of water. I'm going to bring this up to a boil, season it with a little bit of salt and pepper. The cornstarch and water, we call that a slurry, and that's going to thicken up the gravy. Now that our gravy's ready, let's slice this. The first thing we're going to do is cut off the strings. My prime rib came with some strings on it. Yours may not have the strings. If it doesn't, no worries. When it comes to taking the bones out, I like to use my chef's knife. Now take your chef's knife and we're going to run it down the bones, pointing the blade towards the bones. Just take your time. You don't want to cut into the meat. You want to be as close to those ribs as you can. I'm going to place those off to one side, and now we're going to slice the meat. I'm going to use my carving knife. You could use your chef's knife or even a serrated knife to do this, but just take a look at the inside. Look how perfectly that's cooked. That beautiful piece of prime rib, especially if it's served with that gravy. Your family and friends are going to love this recipe.